Let's just kind of go around the room, so to speak, and do a quick introduction just to make sure, we all kind of have a little bit of context and who we are. I'm John, and Leslie. She's inside the house. I'm outside here on the lanai. We've lived here on Maui 3 years and just finished our commercial rating last month and working on the CFI right now. So this is the downtime, giving us time to study as well. And we wanted to connect with some people, some of our friends, and some that we know and some that we don't know. I know everybody here today, but I think there were some that might be joining that might listen to the podcast that I don't actually know. So I was looking forward to that. Leslie, you want to go? And then we'll kind of go around the room. Dean and Jack and Ovik and Anita.
Yeah. So I'm Leslie. I mean, I know all you guys know me. I'm the one that collects your money at the end of every month. Well, at least Jack's money right now.
Yeah.
But John and I really want to be a resource as we're using this downtime. I know on our case, and I know a lot of people's cases, we don't know when that next paycheck's going to be coming in. So we don't want to be bored, and we want to be the most productive that we can during this downtime. So we thought this would be a good time to just kind of check in with everybody. I wasn't sure about timing, if this was good for people. We're going to try to do this 1, 2, who knows, maybe 3 times a week. We're going to choose a random subject every week, just to check in. If you can hop in, great. Then if you can't, that's fine. You can catch the next one. We're going to try to record these and put them on our YouTube channel for a playback and do that. So that's kind of the purpose of this. And John kind of introduced me. And Dean, why don't you go next? Our friend Dean.
Okay, yeah, thanks. My name's Dean Showalter, and I got to know John and Leslie through podcasting, and that's been really great. So I love aviation, but I'm really here for the friendship with them. So I find that the friendship makes the aviation that much better. So yeah, I'm just here to join in and learn all I can.
Okay.
Tell everyone what you do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I work in a GA maintenance shop right nearby here, our local airport, and I've been there for 25 years, A&P, IA. I do a little bit of flying, and I would like to do more flying. So that's what I do in my day job, but I love the podcasting and the meeting people and all those kind of things. So I'm hoping to do more online training and some traveling and things like that. And Jack, I have let me see here if I can do this. I have another background that I'm going to plug in for you, and it's going to be this one. See if I can. There we go.
Nice. You're an instructor as well, right?
Yes. I have my flight instructor's certificate. I just renewed that, and I am interested in getting the double I sometime here. I don't have that yet. So, yep.
Awesome. Thanks, Dean. All right, Jack, introduce yourself.
My name is Jack. I am a helicopter pilot here on Maui. I was flying helicopters here before all this went down. Been on Maui on and off for 24 years total. I've lived on this island, so I left for some time and came back. And we recently just decided to start working on fixed wing add-ons. I started in aviation as a fueler and then mechanic apprentice, got my MP, later on got an IA, and I worked pretty much all helicopter stuff. So anyway, I've been working on my add-ons here. Should have a private check right here in a couple of days, so hopefully that goes well. But I'm very happy with Fly Maui. It's been great here. You guys have run a great operation, and I'm really thankful that it's here on Maui, and we can get this done.
Awesome. Thanks, Jack. All right, Anita.
You just skipped over Ovik.
Oh, well, my pictures are moving around.
Okay, sorry.
Go, Anita.
Okay, I'm going. I was just going to see if we could mute the background noise. I'm having a hard time. Can you? I'm not able to hear everybody because there's background noise on the mics.
Okay,
that would be
so
helpful for
everybody
me.
hit the mute button until you speak.
Yeah, thank you very much. I got other noises behind me, so thanks a lot. I appreciate it. So hi, I'm Anita, and I am glad that we're having this meeting. I've been on Maui for a long time, a few decades, since '89. I am a CFI. I have all ratings, ATP, and that sort of thing. But right now, currently with my flying, I'm more of a I want to call myself a secondary CFI because it's not my primary way of doing business, or I shouldn't say business, but it's not my primary income source right now. But I do stay active in that, and I'm very active in with the 99s and helping other girls get their scholarships and writing letter recommendations. And that's what I just did this last week for one of the gals that's applying for one of the scholarships. And so I just stay active with them and take them. We do flying and talk about cross country stuff and help them get resources on how to train in different areas of instrument training or whatever rating they might be working on. And that's been my passion and continues to be my passion with aviation and how I can give back to the aviation community right now. And yeah, I've been flying since a little girl, since I was 11 years old, and it's in my blood. So I still want to stay very current and active. And I did just recently also renew my CFI rating.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Anita, I'm so glad you could join us. All right, Ovik, introduce yourself to everybody.
I got to figure out all this newfangled technology. Hi, all. All I know is I want a background like Dean's. I want to have a jet in the background. So flight instructor here on Maui with Fly Maui. Worked very, very closely with John and Leslie, as you guys might know. Bug them all day long is probably the better way to say that. Been flying since I started flying gliders when I was 15. And so right now, really just living the dream. Get to spend all day, a full-time flight instructor, get to spend all day in a cockpit with some of the best people on the planet, checking out whales and rainbows and waterfalls. So that's what I do.
All right, and John joined us. John M.
Yep.
Haiku, John.
Makawao.
Makawao, sorry.
Yeah, I was doing zip line and hammock shop, and the hammock shop is shut down and the zip line is shut down. So, but my background is I was an Air Force brat growing up around military transport planes all my life. Always loved airplanes. Moved out here, and my friend of mine who had researched getting into working for airlines or getting into being a pilot professionally did some of the research and recommended I go talk to Billy. So Billy hooked me up with Ovik and got my private pilot's license last August. Haven't been doing too much with it lately, and now that everything's going on, it's kind of unknown how the world is going to change and how that's going to affect the industry and just jobs in general. So just kind of sitting tight and staying away from people right now.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Yeah, we really don't know what's going to happen to the industry now. I know John and I are trying to keep a pulse on that, just to know how we can guide a lot of our students like Jack, who has the ambition of going into the airlines as quickly as possible, because we went in a matter of overnight from having this huge pilot shortage to now there's not so much of a shortage. It is going to bounce back because the industry was going so well. There is a high demand. It's a small world now, but it is going to take, looks like a little bit of time to recover. So it's just, a matter of knowing how to put your best foot forward and make yourself sellable, and be the best prepared you can and competitive when you walk into those interviews one day. So hopefully, this time, if you are staying at home, if you're without a job or you're laid off for a little while, have some extra time on your hands. Hopefully these suggestions that John and I are going to go through today will give you some ideas of something you can do instead of just sitting on the couch watching Netflix and gaining what we are starting to call the COVID-15, eating all your snacks that you've stored up in the house. So John, why don't you start us?
Yeah. Hey, Anita, how's the background noise now? Is it good? Okay. Okay, good. All right. So we'll try to make this painless. We talked about these particular topics last week on this past week on our Fly Maui podcast. So just in case maybe you've already listened to that, we don't want to bore you with that. So I just want to kind of mention the topics, and then Lessa, we can just kind of jump in. The first topic is ground school, and so we're talking about things that you can do during the downtime for all of us. These are some, I think, helpful ideas. Number one is ground school online classes. Number two is enroll in the FAA Wings program. We'll talk about that if you don't know what that is. Also, apply for scholarships. Anita just talked about helping, mentoring and helping another younger lady apply for a scholarship just so that she can continue on in aviation. Also, flying at home. We were Les and I were doing a check ride mock oral, what would you call it? Just a refresher
mock oral
or
exam,
just
yeah.
oral exam with a student just a little bit ago. And I talked to him about.
You turned your mute on. Yeah.
She just yelled at me and said, I turned my mute on. So she's in the house. I'm out on the lanai. So anyway, where did I stop? Scholarships?
Fly at home.
Okay, flying at home. So I was talking to one of the students about flying at home. He's got his check ride in a couple of days. And I just said, hey, go sit out in your car, go sit on the airplane, on the east ramp, go sit in a chair, just walk through that check ride, mentally, just visualize everything. So we talked about that. So how can we fly at home during this downtime? And then connecting with other pilots and free content online. There's so much stuff online, as we all know, but how to connect with other pilots. And we wanted to recommend and suggest some different podcasts. And we have one podcaster on the show today, Dean Showalter. Dean, if you've not listened to his podcast, it is a gem. I mean, it is, you just find different nuggets all throughout when you listen to it. It's crazy how much I don't know. And then when I listen to one of his podcasts, I feel like I just went to school, and I wish I would have known that, prior. So Dean's been super helpful. We'll mention his podcast at the end. So Leslie, jump in there and kind of just.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen here, and we're just going to run through these quickly because we want to give you your time and your Sunday afternoon back. So the first thing is something you can be doing if you're working on that next certificate or rating is working on your ground school. Now, of course, if you're here on Maui, OVIC is available for ground school. Anita, when she can work it in between her schedule, John and I can do ground tutoring with you. But if you want to dive in from the house and do ground school, there's a lot of them out there. One, and we're just going to speak from our personal experience with all of these things. One that John and I have used, and I'm going to share the screen here, is with Angle of Attack. It's angleofattack.com. And our friend Chris Palmer he's based in Homer, Alaska. He offers a really good, he's got a private pilot ground school and then an instrument ground school. The instrument ground school is what John and I went through about this time last year. And then he also has a new product out there called Check Ride Ace. And he has it available for private pilot, instrument, and for your commercial check ride. He doesn't teach you like from a question and answer standpoint, you're going to get this question on your oral exam and here's the answer. It's more of here's a foundation to get you started on your studies, to see what subjects you need more study in. And here is a way that you can organize all of your materials and get ready to go into your check ride and just put that best foot forward and look professional as you're going about it. But his ground schools are really good. So those of you that are CFIs, it's a really good one. We've gone through it ourselves. Highly recommend that. Another one, and all of you, except for maybe Dean, you guys know Lawrence Balter at Maui Flight Academy. Lawrence is not flying right now, but he has a free private pilot and free instrument, maybe not ground school, but ground sessions that he's offering. So this is his website here. If you can see that, you just click this button here, sign up for our online courses. And his style is kind of similar to what we're doing here. So I think that's really good that he's offering that. And he's got a lot of people. He's got a big following, like on some Facebook groups. So it's a chance to get into a setting like this and meet a lot of different pilots all over the country. Also, if you're on, let's see, it's just me and Anita. Anita, just as you're mentoring some of the girls in the 99s, on Facebook, there is a Ladies in Flight Training Facebook group. It's a free group. It's a private group to be a part of. You just have to be at least a student pilot to be a part of it. But Mary Latimer, who is a CFII and MEI, she's also a former DPE. Every day she's logging on and she's doing some free ground videos. She's taking requests. And so I think it's a really cool perspective to have that coming from the DPE's point of view, because she did do check rides for many, many, many years. And you may be familiar, some of you guys may be familiar with the Girls in Flight Training Academy in Vernon, Texas. And she's the executive director and chief instructor at Gift Academy. And some of you guys know Chaz. Chaz is, went and got he finished up his instrument training there and did his instrument check ride this fall at Gift Academy. It doesn't have to be just for ladies. They take men too. Shannon Christensen, who flies from Mokulele, did a couple of her ratings there as well. Anyway, so there's a lot of connections there. A really good resource. Next is, oh, let me grab this. Babe, you want to talk about the test prep workbook in the app? I'm going to grab my book.
Yeah, I was just, we mentioned working through a test prep workbook, ASA Prepware app. There's a lot of apps out there. ASA Prepware is a good one. I just downloaded yesterday from Shepherd Air for the CFI knowledge exam. So I've downloaded that on my iPad, starting to work through that. And then the FOI, and try to get that test knocked out very soon. Sporties, Leslie's got that pulled up, it looks like on the
I was pulling out my book. I wish that was my bookmark, but it is not. So, you know, this is what those ASA books look like.
Oh.
So a lot of people, when they go through, and the app goes through the same questions. So like John, you may be working, it may be worth your while to download the instrument rating app and just start looking at some flashcards on that. A lot of people don't have the time to work through every question in the workbook, but now that you've got this downtime, maybe you've got some time to do that. So yeah, sporties.com. You guys know that that's like one of the most popular pilot shops online. You may get a catalog in the mail. They have a lot of ground school classes online available. So they've made this one, it's the Pilot's Guide to Airspace. It's an online course. It's usually about $25. They are offering that for free during this quarantine crisis period, because I know a lot of students are at home not able to fly. So if you want an airspace refresher, or if you're a CFI and want to point your students towards that, that's a really good one. I'm going to try to work through that one myself just to see what that's like. And then another one, a YouTube channel that sometimes I will grab onto and watch a little bit. It's fly8mikealpha.com. And right now they're offering a free private pilot ground school. I don't think this is quite in depth. It's something like Angle of Attack, where at the end of Angle of Attack, after you do some practice tests, they will endorse you. He will endorse you to go take your written exam. This one is more just some of the content. So you can see, I don't know, our pictures may be hiding it. On the right-hand side of the screen, it shows you a lot of the subjects that are in it. So that's another, oh, here we go. So you can see some of the lessons that they have in the private pilot ground course. If you go to courses, they do have other free courses here. So like if you're planning to go to Sun and Fun sometime, it's how to fly into it, spin awareness. There's another page that has more on it, but that's another option for some free courses online. Also, AOPA has some free courses. Go to AOPA, I think it's .com, it may be .org. And most of their courses, you can get FAA Wings credit. We're going to talk about that in a minute. So you can do that directly through their website. I don't think any of you, Anita, used to be private aircraft owners, right? If you have a friend that owns their own aircraft, AOPA also has an accident forgiveness course that you can take. And what's really cool about that is if you go through the courses, there's certain steps that you have to do. It's actually not too exhaustive, then if you were to have an accident, then they work with different insurance companies, the main aviation insurance companies around the country, and they will write off your deductible for your policy if you happen to be in an accident.
I noticed you've got Jason Miller's Learn the Finer Points website pulled up. Jason's a great Instagram. I know Dean probably follows him on Instagram, just has a ton of great material, a lot of helpful videos. He does a podcast, usually 1 or 2 a week. They're usually 10 to 15 minutes long. So Jason Miller, Monday through Friday, he does Instagram lives. That's 9 a.m. Pacific time, so 6 a.m. for us here in Hawaii, and then probably, I guess, Dean, on the East Coast, you're probably 3 or 4 hours ahead of West Coast. So a little bit later in the day for you. He's got a ton of YouTube content. And if you support, the page you have pulled up is, Leslie, is the Patreon part of his site. If you support that site, you can unlock that, like he says, $20 a month. So you're going to get a ton of content from Jason. It's worth checking him out on YouTube or Instagram first, and then just see how you like his style, see what you enjoy about that. Very, very helpful. Very conservative CFI as well.
Yeah, his main focus is on pilot safety. We do support him for, like, I think it's $5 a month. So we do, like, here's one, we get free upload for that. And there's one I did watch this one. It was just really good about, it's like a landing clinic, but then you can up your support for him and his family for like $10 a month, $20 a month, and it unlocks different content. But the content that he is giving online for free through Instagram, through his YouTube channel, and through his podcast is just, you could literally spend all day on just the free content that he's putting out right now while he's not flying, and spend all day on it. And it's really, really good stuff. I've been trying to listen in on the Instagram live, the 30-minute conversation every morning, Monday through Friday. And it's been really good. This past week, it was all about needle flying. So he started with the basics of VOR flying, then went into GPS flying, instrument flying. And it was just like a really advanced class the last day. And this coming week, he's covering all things weather. So if you want to hop in on that, if you have a Instagram account. Right. The last one is Ground School Aviation 101 is out there for, it's put out by Embry-Riddle. I have gone through this course before. This is one that I like to send to, especially the high school, junior high, high school kids. It has like all the basics, weather, aircraft systems, navigation, but really, really basic, watered down. It's just kind of to whet a potential student's appetite for learning how to fly. It's perfect for, here's some of the subjects that's covered. It's not very long. Some flight schools, I know our flight school back in Arkansas, what we did for a while was if you completed this course, you can print out a certificate, and then we would take, I think it was like $25 off your discovery flight. So you finish this course and then come in and you get your discovery flight, which is already at a good discount for an even better discount. So a really good one to send people to.
Let's say you want to talk about scholarships real quick.
Yeah. Well, let me show the WINGS program real quick before we kind of leave this subject. If you're not in the FAA WINGS program, I highly recommend it. What it basically is are free courses online, and then you get credit for those courses. If you're a student pilot, it's free to sign up. It's free for anybody to sign up, but student pilots can be a part of it. Once you get your private certificate, then you start earning these credits. And once you finish like a basic phase, I'll go to the dashboard, my dashboard here. Once you finish any phase, sorry, where's my, once you finish a phase, then you can, it counts towards your ground session for your flight review. You still have to do the flight portion, but that can save you a little bit of money in the long run. Okay, I've lost where I'm going to. Anyway, so that's good. I think most of you on here are familiar with the WINGS program. So that's something else that you could get involved with right now. Okay, scholarships. So a lot of people think that scholarships, aviation scholarships, are only for for girls, for ladies, maybe for young people going into college, but there are a ton of scholarships out there that are unused, literally millions of dollars of unused scholarship money just because people aren't there applying for them. I know our friend Dean, is he still on here? Did he have to leave? Dean, you're still here. So for example, Dean, I hope you don't mind me sharing this. So Dean just applied for an AOPA scholarship for his CFII. And I was honored to be able to write one of his letters of recommendation for that. Just hoping he gets that, because I know he would make a great instrument instructor. So, you know, somebody like Dean, who is, you know, middle age, he's our age, you know, he's a male, but that's still open to him. But if you are female, or if you have a daughter or somebody in your life that's wanting to learn how to fly, so the 99s, Women in Aviation, are two big organizations to give out a lot of scholarships. And if you have somebody that may be interested in applying or want to know how to make a really good application packet, it takes a lot of time to put one together. It takes a lot of research online to find these scholarships. Reach out to me, reach out to Anita, and we can help walk you through that process, or walk your wife or your daughter through that process. Okay. Babe, you want to take over Fly From Home for a second?
Yeah, I had to move around out here on the lanai. I lost internet connection for a second. So how many of you can just raise your hand or unmute it and talk about it. How many of you chair fly or promote it or think it's a good idea? Let's Ovik raise his hand for sure. Yeah, Dean, Leslie, Jack's gonna raise his now. All right, thank you. Now I can see everybody. I'm a proponent of it because it helped me on the instrument. Gosh, that was October. Super nervous about, I mean, the instrument all by itself was, you know, that was a huge learning curve. We did that. You mentioned earlier the angle of attack ground school last February. And then I think it was October-ish when we took our check rides, but just really nervous leading up to then. So I just found, for me personally, the chair flying, we have a home simulator that we don't use hardly at all. It's not certified in any kind of way, but, you know, just being able to sit there with a yoke and the pedals and just be able to close my eyes and think about here. What that? I don't, is my mic?
Sorry, I think he's just having internet troubles out there. So yeah, so there's the chair flying. So we've got a home sim. We've got up at the airport, Jack and John, y'all know we've got a Redbird TD2 that's super helpful. You can talk to John or me or Ovik about doing some classes and setups in that. Back on Sporties, if you ever make an order on Sporties, they have a 172 cockpit poster, like a panel that's free. So what I usually do, I don't know how to find it except for typing free in the search bar. Make any type of order, like if you're just ordering a Hawaii sectional chart, and then type in free in the search bar, a Sporties poster will pop up for free, add it to your cart. So every time I make an order from Sporties, I'm adding one of those to my cart. So like I've got 3 or 4 in my file box here at the house. If you don't want to go through that, if you don't want to do the sim, you know what, you can even just get like a big piece of cardboard and a Sharpie, draw out your panel, maybe do it, you know, go sit in the airplane, draw out your 6-pack, your comms, your throttle quadrant, you know, all the things that you're going to be using in the airplane. And then when you're going through these checklists and these procedures, like John was talking about, then you're literally, whether it's the poster or the piece of cardboard, press the buttons, you know, and just do it over and over again. And I heard, I was watching one of it was actually one of Jason Miller at the Finer Points YouTube instructional videos this past week, and I was reading the comments, and somebody said their CFI had said, if you do that in the pattern and make all the calls, and you're just sitting at your chair at home, maybe just in front of your piece of cardboard or your poster, and you're touching everything, you're pretending like you're making all the calls at home, you're, looking at your, looking down at the pattern, you're just going through all the motions, do that 20 times, and it's like doing it one time for real in the pattern. And it's just that, that process, that muscle memory of doing it over and over and over. So, I mean, doing that chair flying, it keeps your procedural skills sharp. It helps you your checklist. I know getting ready for my commercial check ride, I knew one thing that I was lacking on that I had not been practicing over time like I should have been is all of my emergency procedures. And lo and behold, I got 2 of them on my check ride. So I'm glad I kind of brushed up on those the last week, but I really should have been doing it all along. So take this opportunity maybe to get out a checklist and, maybe pick an emergency a day and go through those emergency procedures. You could do it with instrument approaches and brushing up on your communications. I mean, the list goes on and on. The thing that we have at home, it's not real fancy. We got it off of Sporties. It's just a yoke and a simple throttle quadrant and rudder pedals. And then we are using X-Plane 11, and I run it on my laptop, which really, we should have a dedicated computer for that. So I wouldn't say the whole home setup probably cost us about $350, maybe $400 back when we started our instrument training. So we've really found it helpful. I wanted to show you, and this is, I'll share the screen just for a quick second. There is an app that I found this week that this guy, Jason Miller, uses with the Finer Points. It's called Nav Trainer Pro. He's using this on a lot of his demonstrations online. And so if you're an instrument student, an instrument pilot, an instructor, it's really cool the way it works. I haven't purchased it yet and played with it myself yet, but this whole week on his Instagram lives, he's been using this as his examples. And it's really cool how it works. And I think I'm really excited, probably too excited to download this and play with it. Especially like, one thing that I was missing a lot on my written test, I thought I would understand it, but using the HSI, because I've never actually used an HSI in a plane except for flying with Lawrence in the Cirrus for a few hours. So I want to, brush up on my skills on that. So it's Nav Trainer Pro. I know in the App Store for Apple devices, it's $8.99. I'm not sure about like a Samsung or a non-Apple device like that. All right, babe, are you back on?
Yeah, I had to join from my phone on the cell signal.
Okay. You want to talk about connecting with other pilots?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good time, especially if you're just at home, spending a lot of time feeling like you're twiddling your thumbs. I think it's a good time to call and check in on your mentor. It's a good time to call and encourage other student pilots or other just fellow pilots that are friends. Send them a text, a phone call, just see how they're doing. It's just a good time to, I guess, pat each other on the back and encourage and say, hey, we're going to get through this together. Follow other pilots like you have talked about, other instructors online on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. There are a lot of places to connect, even though we're socially distanced for the most part globally. It is a time to socially connect. It's a good opportunity if you're maybe not on any platform to choose one and just go out there and see what you can learn. I mean, you can find anything on the web, so you got to be careful, but it's a good time to connect. And if you don't know who to connect with, just ask a trusted, pilot friend. And I would trust any of the ones that are on the screen right now as people I could ask and say, hey, who would you follow? If there's one guy in aviation to follow, who would it be? Or one podcast to listen to, what would you listen to? Some of our friends and respected instructors in the industry, they're putting out a ton of free training. We've mentioned a few today, just a lot of content right now for free. You could spend all day on new material available and still not even get to half of it, much less go back and look at, the past of things that they have produced. So, a lot of the guys right now have a lot of time on their hand, and they're trying to put out as much material to help other pilots as much as possible right now. Podcasts are a great tool for us. If you're driving around, or if you're sitting, you're cleaning, or whatever, you're just hanging out, podcasts, are great to listen to. I'll mention a few. Leslie, you can mention a few. And Dean, I know you produce a podcast, and you also listen to podcasts. So we're going to ask you if you have some. And then anybody else tuned in right now, tell us maybe ones that encourage you. But Aviator Cast, Chris Palmer, Angle of Attack, that's a great one. We just mentioned Jason Miller with the finer points. Stuck Mike Avcast is a good one. Aviation News Talk provides a lot of news, and it's normally long. The first maybe 20-30 minutes can be almost feel like a commercial, but after that, a lot of times I'll fast forward about 30-40 minutes, and then the next 30 or 40 minutes kind of gets into the meat of the podcast. So Aviation News Talk is a good one. Leslie, you got a few?
Yeah, Aviation Careers Podcast, and I'm going to say Pilot to Pilot Podcast. Now, if you're someone, especially somebody that's looking to make aviation a career, and you may be worried about, okay, everything is literally just changed overnight. What is the industry looking like? Because it is changing on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis right now. Last week they were talking about probably not many airlines. Yeah, it's going to be a hard time. Hiring has been frozen. Nobody's hiring right now. But maybe they could not have to go through furloughing. But now this week, now the airlines are talking about furloughing. One of our friends that used to fly for Mokulele, that is based on Oahu, he just completed his first year at Compass Airlines. Well, they have totally folded in, and now he's back in Honolulu without a job. So anyway, the Aviation News Talk, Aviation Careers Podcast, and Pilot to Pilot Podcast are 3 podcasts that are putting out extra podcasts during the week. Usually it's like once every week or two, but now they're doing more episodes, keeping everybody up to date on what the industry trends are right now and what that's going to look like. Another one is Flight Review TV. That one's pretty cool. It is a student in his CFI down in Florida, and they go out and fly, and they sit and debrief together and talk about their lessons and just about flight training in general. And it's really cool to have that dynamic. AOPA has a lot of podcasts out there. One of my favorite ones is the Never Again podcast. It's kind of like real life stories of near misses. I always walk away from those scenarios learning something, how to make myself a safer pilot. The Traffic Pattern podcast is sponsored. It's hosted by a friend of ours he works in the Atlanta Tracon. So he's an ATC guy and a student pilot right now. So that one's really good. The Why We Fly podcast is by a private pilot in the Nashville area. And it's more of kind of like a feel-good, inspirational, telling stories type of podcast. So if you need a good encouragement, lift you up, that's a good one. Wi-Fi CFI. That is one, if you listen to the podcast itself, I'll have to be honest, it could be a little boring. It's basically a CFI pretty much reading through the Pilot's Handbook of Aeronautical Knowledge. But I'm going to, I'm going to share the screen one last time, I promise. On their website.
And we're just like a minute away from being finished.
Yeah, we're almost done here. So the Wi-Fi CFI website, I was just kind of playing around with it. I've been listening to their podcast for months and months and months, but I've never really gone to their website and looked around. But if you go to it, you see private, instrument, commercial, CFI, II, multi. So like for the one that we're going to be looking at, go to the CFI study course. It's going to let me. Okay. And then for any of these, you're going to see this button, free videos and quizzes. So I just want to show you just the amount, just for CFI, the content that they have available. So this first part is fundamentals of instruction. So you've got the different tasks that you're responsible for. And then the ground school lessons, you see how many there are. And then the flight maneuver lessons. And I went through, it's the same for each one, whether it's private or an instrument or commercial. So like you click watch lesson, and then it's going to bring up the actual lesson in a video format. And then it gives you a free quiz at the end of that lesson. So that's a really cool resource. That is all free, that they provide for free. It's really, really cool. If you want to dig down deeper and have some live lessons, some one-on-one tutoring, they offer that and will endorse you for whatever written test you're going to take. That is a paid subscription, but they do have a podcast as well. Now I'm going to save the best one for last, the Airplane Owner Maintenance Podcast. So it's hosted by none other than our friend Dean Showalter, joining us from Virginia. I'm so glad you could hop on today, Dean. So Dean, tell everybody a little bit about your podcast and what you talk about on it.
Well, I tend to talk about a lot of maintenance things, but I also love stories too. So my recent one, if you saw that red airplane on here, that was Mike White's Piper Stinson. So mostly it's maintenance oriented content, and I like to go through and find things I consider interesting that I work on in the shop, and then hopefully share those in a way that other people will find both education, and maybe they're also dealing with the same thing. I've gotten a lot of feedback on that people have found useful things on that. So yeah.
Yeah. So even if you don't own your own aircraft, even if you're a student pilot, Dean's podcast, they're usually typically like 30 minutes long, around there. You're going to learn something about the systems in your aircraft, even if you're an A&P already. A lot of mechanics listen to this podcast, a lot of student pilots, aircraft owners, and it's not like, well, I'll admit there was one episode about magnetos that went way over my head, but he does it in such a way where just the average Joe can listen to it and understand it. And you really want to get back out to your airplane and check on those things. Anyway, so yeah, I want to put a plug in for that, for the Airplane Owner Maintenance Podcast. It's great. And that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions about anything? I know that was a lot of information. Maybe it was a little boring. I think on, John and I were talking about on Wednesday, and you can unmute yourselves if you want to. John and I were talking about maybe Wednesday, we're going to do another one of these. I don't know what time yet. I'll shoot out an email to everybody again. And I think we're going to do like a ForeFlight 101, basics into ForeFlight. I know a lot of our students here either don't fly with it, or they're just starting to fly with it a little bit. They don't know just the power and the capabilities that ForeFlight has. Even we could probably spend an hour just going through all of the weather information that's available in ForeFlight. So we're going to do just kind of a quick ForeFlight refresher or ForeFlight basics on, I'm thinking Wednesday. So does anybody want to say anything or have any questions before we close out today?
Yeah, I've got, this is Ovik. I got one question. All the great links and things you guys talked about, is there a way, I've been trying to take notes, but I probably didn't get them all, and you might have said this in the beginning, but is there a way to get all that stuff?
Yeah,
I mean, just to see it? I
can send out an email. First of all, if you listen to our podcast, the Fly Maui podcast, if you click on the show notes, I do always include all of the links to everything we talk about in the show notes. So you can do it that way. Or also the show notes, I won't go back to the screen share, but if you go to our flight school website, which is flymauihi.com, hit the podcast, it might be the easiest thing to do. Go to our website, hit the podcast tab, find this past week's episode. Babe, you remember it was like number 66 maybe?
Yeah, 66.
Yeah. And I think it was called Pilot Activities During COVID-19 or something like that. So scroll through that episode page and you'll see all of the links. There's a couple of these I don't think we talked about on the podcast. Like I think the Wi-Fi CFI link was not on there, but what I'll do is I'll update the website and our show notes and go back and add some of these links that we did not talk about on the podcast.
Hey, Leslie, this is John Alpine. Did you,
Hey.
I noticed the record thing was on. Was this whole episode recorded, and could we listen to it from the beginning? I missed the very beginning.
We hope so. John is recording it, and we've never recorded one of these before. This is only like our third or fourth one of these to do. So we're going to play around with it. And yeah, we're going to see how that turns out, and whether it's video and or audio. Yeah, I'll shoot it over to you and let you know. I'm glad you hopped in here. Good to see you.
Yes, thanks. Thanks. It was very informative. Thanks. That was a ton of stuff.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, we're going to close it out. We're going to let you guys get back to your—
Quick one here.
Oh, yeah, John.
The angleattack.com, I checked them out before. And how do their courses compare, or how much material do they have compared to like King Schools or Sporties, how they have some of their courses? Because it is like a paid course for them, right?
Right,
The ground
right, it
school
is.
ones.
I'll tell you the big difference between Angle of Attack and King Schools is Angle of Attack, it is maybe not newer information, but it's more up to date. I mean, everybody knows, you know, Sweet John and Martha, their videos are kind of outdated. It really, to me, Chris's with Angle of Attack holds your attention a little bit better. And he really does yes, he's going to give you that foundation to learn how to study for whatever written test you're working on. His big focus is on pilot safety, aeronautical decision-making, and he also implements ForeFlight into his teaching, especially on the instrument one. And we learned a ton about how to use ForeFlight in instrument flying through the instrument ground school. So that's something you're not going to get with King Schools. King Schools does prepare you really well for the written test as well. It's just outdated. The difference between Angle of Attack and Sporties, I feel like Sporties is more of a like a flying manual school, not so much written test driven, but it's more of like preparing you for flying the airplane itself for whatever course you're taking, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, anything else? All right, well, Aloha Sunday, Happy Palm Sunday. Easter's next
Jack,
weekend.
good luck on that check ride.
Thank you.
Thank you, John and Leslie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Okay, we're going to close it out. Bye, everyone.
Hey,
Bye.
thank
Good to
you.
see you guys.
Okay,
Thanks.
bye.